Well, welcome to. All right, Maria, I'm going to have you start us off.
All right. Catholic Momcast. I think it's 319 in three, two, one. Hello and welcome to the Catholic Momcast. I'm Maria Johnson, and with me today is Allison Gingras for a delightful check in for Advent. Hi, Allison.
Hello, Maria. I'm so excited to be behind the mic again. It's been a way too long hiatus for me, so I'm excited to chat with you today.
Yes, it's always fun to get together. I'm bringing my best Lauren Bacall voice today. Although I think I just after I say that, I think I swallowed enough of the lozenge to clear that up.
Oh, good.
How have you been? How's your Advent going?
It is going well. I love Advent, and I like, trying to postpone my Christmas celebration by focusing on Jesus in the Advent season, doing a couple of book studies and just trying to stay focused on Christ in the morning. How about yours?
Oh, mine is a mess. It
Okay.
is it is nothing but upheaval. We're having some renovations done in the house that started late, so we thought that they would have been done before Thanksgiving. And here we are into the second week of Advent, and I don't even know where my Advent wreath is. I've been lighting a random candle at night for dinner, trying to focus on at least a little dinner time prayer and acknowledgement that it is Advent. But I hope I'll have Advent.
Okay, okay, true confession, until you just mentioned that, I forgot I didn't put up my Advent wreath yet. I totally yeah, I don't know where mine is either. I
Okay,
didn't
I
even
feel a
think
little better.
I've been doing Snap Advent every day on the Catholic Mom Instagram, and I felt like that's killing it. So
Oh
there
my
you
God,
go.
that's good. That's your Advent celebration. Well, it's so funny because I think we always enter the season with these aspirations of all of the things that
Yes,
we're
yes,
going to
yes,
do.
yes.
And it's trite. I know it's trite. I know it's cliche, but really, if I just need to take a moment and say, Jesus is the reason for the season, and that's what we're preparing for. And,
Amen.
uh, and everything else, will come out in the wash.
It will. And that prayer from Dolindo, the Jesus, I surrender myself to you, take care of
Mhm.
everything, is become my mantra. My mantra. I'm from Boston,
Your
so
mantra?
my mantra is just I have it on repeat. It's just on it is so helpful because I really can't control anything, even though I think I'm controlling everything. I'm controlling zero. And so when I surrender it to God, at the end of the day, what doesn't get done is his fault. I hope my bosses understand that.
Wow, I was unprepared for the blame game today.
Well, I'm always up for the blame game.
Well, welcome to Advent 2024. I mean, there are some things on that bingo card this year that nobody was expecting, and so I
Mhm.
just think that Advent is a time to reset, and it
Yes.
is the beginning of our year,
Yes.
so it's a good way to start clean, I think. And one of the things that I often think about is sometimes I might get a 3 or 4 day late start into Advent, but then I get going.
Yeah.
Uh, and that's
There's
good.
no I love that point, Maria, that there's, like, really no wrong time to get started connecting with Jesus.
Just so true.
Like, we get life is busy, and this year, it was Thanksgiving was late, we jumped right into the
Yeah.
season. Of course, people are behind, like, it's just life, and Jesus is happy we show up whenever we show up. He's not as, worried about the timeline, I think, as we are.
Well, except for one little detail, I'm so delighted to be able to actually enjoy a full Advent calendar.
That's
Isn't
true.
that cool?
That is cool. I forgot about that.
Yeah, we actually get the 24 days in. I was sharing that with my grandkids because, they get the little advent calendars with the chocolates and the things.
Yes.
And I get the adult advent calendar that has preserves in it. So every breakfast is a new.
Last year, I did a wine advent calendar, just saying. I didn't do
Oh,
it this year, but last year I had They're little lines. They're not like full bottles of wine. So every day we had just
Eyes.
a little bottle to try out. It was fun.
Oh, I love it. So we have a lot of very good offerings on Catholic Mom with reflections from our contributors that have talked about different things that I think that we've kind of touched on in this opening conversation. And the first one I think is really quite beautiful, or the one I want to look at.
Mhm.
And it's "Slow Down and Embrace the Advent Season" by Tina Mayu. And it's just the headline tells it all. Slow down and embrace the Advent season. And I'm that kind of person that does lists, you know,
Me
and I
too.
have lists of lists.
Me
And
too.
sometimes I write something on the list that I've already done so that I can have the dopamine hit that I have checked it off.
Yes, girl. Me too. Yes. I'm so behind you on that. Yes.
Uh, but she really, you know, she sets it in a hike that she was taking with her family, and talking about slowing down and actually being present to what's going on. And I think that just the daily grind of rushing through things. I have
Mhm.
chores to do. I have tasks to do for work. I have, you know, the maintenance of the house and all the other things. And then this is the time of year that everybody wants to be with you. You know, oh, let's do a cookie swap. Let's go have a little Christmas party. Let's meet for, you know, cocktails or lunch or tea or something. And it seems like we're so overscheduled
Yes.
that, you know, maybe taking a walk in the woods is the thing to also to recenter us and slow us down a little bit.
Yeah, my husband and I began about a year ago trying to take a hike every weekend, either Saturday or Sunday. And I'm prone to panic attacks. And so one of the things that I've been trying to do in my walk that has been really quite remarkable for me, even if I'm walking by myself, I walk at work. I work on a right on the side of a college campus, so I'm able to walk during lunch. And one of the things I've been doing is just looking at nature. Like, for instance, in fall, there was this one tree with one yellow leaf. The whole thing was green except for this one yellow leaf. And it really got me to thinking, like, Lord, why is that leaf yellow? He didn't answer me. But but what he did give me was this distraction of my mind to things of him and his creation, and not all the things, the to-do list going through my head. So between my panic attacks and my high blood pressure, I really need to find ways to slow down, to focus energy outside of myself. And I really loved Tina's article talking about, like, standing and looking. Like, obviously, a walking hiking, you wanna be walking, right? But then to get to that place where you just look around and see God's beauty, enjoy it with those you're with, just take it in, the fresh air and the beautiful view that you're looking at.
Yeah, that's a really good way to settle down. Excuse me. I know that for sometimes when you're overwhelmed with things that are around you, especially if you're overstimulated,
Mm,
um, I learned this trick to look around the room and find five of something,
I
and
like
then
that.
four of something, and then three of something, and two and one, and all the way down, and it calms you, but it also brings you into the present.
Mm,
And I think that Tina kind of did that a little bit with her approach to Advent, because she has these recommendations to surround yourself with holy reminders. You know, so I've taken out my nativity. I do have that.
yep.
Um, Mostly because it's kind of a toy. It has the Star of Bethlehem on the top, and if you spin it around, it plays little, you know, little tree
Oh,
song
how
or something,
sweet.
some little
That's
hymn
sweet.
thing. Um, but she also suggests to make an Advent prayer commitment. And
Mm.
honestly, Allison, right now, the only thing I'm capable of doing is remembering to light whatever random candle I find at dinner to
And we
remember in
know
our blessing.
And we know the Lord will accept that. I always use the analogy of my kids coming up with either that pile of wilting dandelions or the scribbled photo, like the little drawing that they made that's only they know what it truly is. And you put the wilting dandelions in a vase of water, and you put the crazy photo on your refrigerator for all the world to see. And that's kind of how I feel about my scraps of prayer, that sometimes the life is only allows me, and that the Lord, that our God, our Father, delights in those, and He puts those little flowers of prayers in a little, even wilted and as pathetic as they are, in that little vase in heaven, and just delights in us.
I know that you're very devoted to Saint Therese of the little flower, so that you would be mentioning flowers is so on brand for you.
Kind of, yeah.
Yeah, and I'm a big fan of Saint Teresa of Avila, who you just mentioned scraps, who wrote most of her things and prayers and aspirations on scraps of paper that I admit that I do that sometimes, and sometimes I just have to remind myself, I have to just write down, "Jesus, I trusted you," on a piece of paper. I can't tell
Yeah.
you how many of those are scattered in random places where, I guess I was having a moment.
What a great idea.
But it doesn't have to be complicated. And I joke about my inability or my deer in the headlights to pray extemporaneously, and it doesn't have to be that. We have these thoughts that we have to have these dramatic prayers that are beautiful and sound literary, and really it's just Jesus wants to hear from us.
Yep, he'll take them.
Yeah. And on that note, another one of her suggestions is to go to confession.
That was a
And
great one.
isn't that great? I
Yeah,
mean, it is kind of Lenten. It is a season of preparation.
yeah, yeah.
So
It is a penitential season. That's why it's purple.
that's
And there's no better way to start the year than with a nice, clean soul, right? Like, I think, was it Mother Angelica used to say that she goes once a week because she doesn't want all that crap on her soul. I'm pretty sure that's the word she used.
also very on brand.
Very, very on brand. She's like, I just don't want to carry all that. So she would go once a week, and we're not asking people to go once a week, but of course we're asked to go at least once a year. But I like going once a month. I find that such a house cleaning. Like, my house is a hot mess, so I
Yeah.
try to keep my soul a little bit cleaner. But
Yeah.
going that once a month, I just know that I've taken a lot of that poop off my soul.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. And it's funny because if you go like if you sometimes I go as far as like 6 weeks, maybe 7 weeks, and if I get into the second month, like I feel it.
Yeah,
Like I feel like sludgy. Um and it's kind of hard not to get into that habit. Once you develop that habit of going to confession, it really
it
it
is
really does
beautiful.
become a kind of a treat. I
It does.
never thought as a young woman that I would ever say that, but here I am taking advantage of my wisdom, right?
Speaking of a treat, the next one is a retreat. What another wonderful idea. And I'm going to do a little commercial because this is what I have to do. If you live in the in northeastern Massachusetts, if you live actually near the Father Peyton Center, which is in northeastern Massachusetts, we invite you Monday, December 9th, and Thursday, December 12th, one or the other, for a mission that we're having with Father Fred and Father Bobby John, who are two amazing priests that work with us at Holy Cross Family Ministries. Father Fred Jenga being the president of such. We're going to be celebrating the Immaculate Conception, the Feast of the Immaculate Conception, with a little bit of French cuisine, because we know it was at Our Lady of Lourdes, is that Lourdes that our Blessed Mother revealed to Bernadette that she was the Immaculate Conception. So we're going with that theme with a reflection. And then on Thursday, because it's Our Lady of Guadalupe, we're having Mexican food. So, and that's all free of charge. So we invite you if you're nearby, but even if you're visiting at some point, the Father Peyton Center really is a beautiful place to come and have a little mini retreat. We have rosary every day at 11:30 a.m. Eastern. We have mass at noon, and both of those things you can see on our YouTube or our Facebook channels for Family Rosary. Just kind of create your own mini retreat if you can't actually get out and get to one. What about you, Maria?
I'm sorry. There's the construction in the house just kicked in, and I hope there's not noise happening.
I didn't hear
Distracted
it.
me.
I didn't hear a thing.
I think that I think that retreats are always a fine idea. And another recommendation, and actually I saw it on Twitter this morning. Somebody had posted a reminder to to be generous and invite those folks that you know that may be alone during these holidays, um, to invite them into your home to share a little bit of family time or to share some um, uh, some love with others, and that's a wonderful thing to do all the time, not just for the holidays. I always laugh at the programs that come out to feed the poor for Thanksgiving, and it's like the poor are hungry all year. Can we
Yes,
can we do this also in April and in June and in September and all the other months? Um,
agreed.
but it is a beautiful work of mercy to to be visiting with the sick or the elderly or the lonely, and to open our homes to them, and if not to open our homes to them, then certainly to give the gift of time with them.
Yeah,
So that's a beautiful recommendation.
I love that.
Yeah.
So what do we have next? What's our next article? I know we have a couple to get through. And I love this. So if this is your first time discovering Catholic Mom, the Momcast, or if this is your 100th time, 300th time, we thank you for listening. But Maria and I are going to continue to talk about some of the articles that we have on Catholic Mom. We know you're busy moms, and not everybody has time to go to CatholicMom.com and read all the time. So we're hoping to continue to do this at least once a month, and also we're going to be putting some of our articles onto audio and being part of our podcast, because we know that sometimes the only time you get is that little time in the car driving to the grocery store or to work. So we're really interested in hearing from you. Is that this is an idea that you'd love for us to go further with? Please feel free to let us know about that. Sorry, Maria. What's our
No,
next
great,
article?
great. Oh, the next one is actually something that I think that both you and I definitely need. Prepare for rest this season.
Oh yeah.
It can happen. And that's by Mary Beth Eberhard. And it talks about how we really should prepare for rest. We have so much going on in our world, and God has so wisely set up Sundays for
Yeah.
us, the Sabbath, to rest. And so in this article, Mary Beth just she moves on with that and says, we have a rhythm in our lives, and we need to allow ourselves to fall into those rhythms that are natural for us. That is how God created us to be. And so instead of running around like crazy people, you know, say yes to yourself, right? Take a little time to make that cup of tea, or put your feet up, or look at your decorations that you may have put up early. Are you an early decorator?
I am an early decorator, but I always wait till Thanksgiving mostly.
Oh my, wait a minute.
What?
We're going to talk about decorating in a minute, but oh my gosh, we're going to come back to this. You
Yes.
try to wait until Thanksgiving.
Yes.
Listen, I'm the one that rages at Home Depot in September.
I'm the one who Home Depot is selling to. Just saying. I want to talk a little bit about rest, because this kind of ties to the first article we were talking about sometimes rest isn't just sitting with your feet up. For
Yeah.
me, the rest is that hike. It's getting myself away from this house, doing something good for myself. Like, it's really important that we move our bodies. And it's taken me over 50 years to recognize truly how important that is to our overall well being and health. So that's also taking rest and time with your family. Like my grandmother, every Sunday, I don't know if you grew up in this. I know we're very close in the same, actually, we're the same generation, am I saying? We're the same generation. I grew up with my grandmother every Sunday making a giant meal and the whole family coming together to have dinner or lunch together. Was my grandmother resting? No way. Was my grandmother thrilled and happy and living her best life and serving her family? And that to her was, then she would sit with a cup of coffee at the end and rest. Absolutely. So I think rest, sometimes we can kind of like, oh, it means I need to sit on the couch watching Hallmark, which I will do as well. Or read a book, which is also very good, but rest can mean different things to different people. That's what it came to my mind when I was reading Mary Beth's article.
Yeah, yeah, and there's that element of spiritual rest too, where we can really rest in our Lord, and give thanks. I had, I think, 36 people at our house for Thanksgiving a couple of weeks ago, and um, we had everything was disposable, and somehow there were still dishes to be done. And I remember one of the women that were here, I think it was my son's girlfriend, came up behind me and she says, "Why don't you go sit down and I'll take over for a little while?" Which was a very generous thing to do. And what ended up happening is that we both did the dishes together.
Oh, that's
I
nice.
Yeah, she says, I'll wash and you dry because you know where the things go," which also was a very wise woman, if you ask me.
Yes, sir. Yes, yes, yes.
Nothing like opening cabinets to find things that people put away randomly. Um, but it gave me a chance to share a similar story about my grandmother,
Mm.
who used to love hosting things in her home and would disappear and actually sit in the other room, because by being quiet in the other room, she could hear all of the joy that was happening in the
Oh,
other parts of the house. And isn't that an interesting
that
thing
is
to do?
beautiful. Oh my gosh, I love that.
Yeah, and so when I feel,
Wise.
when I feel a little overstimulated with, some people are playing games and other people are, just telling stories and something, I would do like my grandmother and I would just go and do the dishes, and it put me in the kitchen in the center of the house where I could hear all the things that were happening around me, but
Mm.
I was enjoying it, in a very quiet way, and
That
it
is
was rest.
that's
Right,
beautiful. I've never heard of anybody doing that. What wisdom.
right.
Wisdom. We need to look at more deeper into our elders and all the wisdom and the things that they brought to us.
That's true. That's
Oh
true.
my
So
gosh.
anyway, Mary Beth's article it's a good one. It's a good reminder to rest and be at rest in
Yes.
in this season. And so now let's just get to the bottom line. What are we doing with our decorations? In in a declaration of hope, Catherine Pasker Enoch wrestles with finding the right time to decorate. And apparently, according to you, as soon as it's available is the right time.
I
But
may or may not never take down my nativity collection. May or not. My mother walked in Thanksgiving and she said, "Has that been up all year?" Like,
uh,
the only time people come to my house is for Thanksgiving, so, yeah, and I like looking at my collection, and just like little Jesus. My mother-in-law, God rest her soul, used to hide the baby Jesus. She put up 1 nativity, not 20 like me, and she'd hide the baby Jesus. But I could never hide a baby Jesus because I would forget where I put Jesus, which
oh,
like
Allie.
that's a whole spiritual discussion right there. I forget where I put Jesus all the time, but she would put him in the gravy bowl, and everybody knew where to find Jesus. But
In the gravy bowl.
well, she didn't eat it till Christmas morning.
Accurate, accurate. Oh my gosh, that's funny. Oh man. Well, one year we had, when we were, I wouldn't say new, we had very young children, and we lived in a very tight neighborhood, tight knit neighborhood where everybody knew everybody for decades. And actually, it was my parents' neighborhood, and we moved into it. So we kind of, already had ready made neighbors that we knew. And they would have an annual contest to see who was the first one to get their Christmas decorations up. And it was like, that, what was that, A Christmas Story with the dad and the weird lamp with the leg?
Oh yes, that's the Christmas story.
That there's that everybody has like their little Christmas tradition type of thing that they're
Yep.
getting ready to go for. And this neighborhood had the tree lights. And we had, I think, 3 kids under the age of 6 at the time. And my husband had put up the Christmas lights mostly just to get me off his back. And then they never came down.
Oh
He
my
left the
goodness.
Christmas lights on all year, but it was the little small twinkle lights.
Yep, yep.
So it was up in the eaves, and you really couldn't tell unless you were like at our front door and you looked up and said, "Oh." Are those your Christmas lights? And they were the colored ones, the multicolored ones, not the white ones that I could say, oh, we keep them year round as, little angel lights in the yard. No, 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 no. There was no getting around that those were Christmas lights. And as soon as he saw the first guy coming out with the ladder to start decorating, he turned on the lights and he said, I won.
That's funny.
Yeah. So we won that year. And then, and then they came over to make sure we had taken them down
Oh
after
my
the new
gosh.
year.
I like that the article had the word hope in it.
Yeah.
Because I do find a lot of hope. I just mentioned I lost my mother-in-law just in October of this year, so it's sort of beautiful reminder as we're hanging the ornaments on the tree because half of them came from her, and just little things that remind us of her as well. But also that this is the year that we enter on December 24th into the Jubilee of hope.
Your sound has gone wacky. Can you hear me?
Yeah, you sound fine.
Oh, there you go. Okay.
Okay, so I'll
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
that's all right.
Let's
We're recording
restart.
a podcast, so we're gonna start over. So our wonderful editors of the podcast, Room 2 Productions, can fix this for the final production.
Yeah.
Um, so I was saying that I love that she put hope into the title of her article that Catherine did, um, because this year in October we lost our mother-in-law, and it's just been such a beautiful reminder as we're hanging ornaments, half of which she gave to us,
Mhm.
as we're finding little decorations that we've kind of taken from her home, which is such a strange thing. Another conversation for another day. But this year, in particular, hope is so on my mind because on December 24th, Pope Francis has declared we will go into a Jubilee year of hope. I believe it ends on January 6th of 2026. So this is going to be kind of an elongated year. And he's calling us pilgrims of hope. And I just love that we, in this world especially, we need to hold tight to hope. Like God is our hope. Jesus, he gave us this beautiful example of hope in Jesus's birth, death, and resurrection. And again, I love that that's part of when I'm decorating. Like we talk about what we're decorating with, right? Nativities, things that remind us of God. The hope that we find when we put ornaments. I don't know about you, but my ornaments all have meaning. They're not
Mhm.
just colored balls. I happen, every year I give the children an ornament that has something to do with something special from this year, and that all gives me hope for the future and for my family. And yeah, I love that she included hope in there.
Yeah, it's beautiful. If I could quote from it, she says, I realized today that I'm looking forward to Advent and Christmas because I crave the
Mhm.
hope and the peace and the joy of December, of Jesus's arrival, of Mary's motherhood, of Joseph's provision, of God's limitless love for each one of us. And that really it encapsulates the entire reason for Advent and for Christmas. It's just a beautiful, beautiful time of love. And yeah, so decorating is a declaration of hope.
It is. Well, this has been so much fun, Maria. I look forward to more discussions, diving into our amazing content on CatholicMom.com with we're 144, 145, I think now, contributors strong. We're so blessed that they give their time and their talent to us and to Catholic Mom and to our Catholic Mom readers and now listeners. So thank you for well, letting me back behind the mic to dive deeper into this.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. And yeah, so we'll be back again in a few weeks with more conversations. And thank you, listeners, for joining us. And we'd love to have your feedback on our shows. And don't forget to leave a review at your favorite podcast platform. And we'll be back next week with another episode of Catholic Momcast. God bless.